was kind of reminiscing the other day. Partly just want to talk through this to see if people are remembering it the same as me. I just mapped this out just to go through kind of my recollection of the pandemic boom in Pokemon and how it's different or similar or whatever to the current boom. This table here is like actual purchases I made. This line in the background is just Google Trends data, Pokemon TCG. In the beginning here, this was kind of like the Pokemon Go era boom. That was kind of like the first boom people talk about. I wasn't active enough to notice that a boom happened. I was still buying sets. I wasn't really online, like, watching Pokemon YouTube or anything at the time. I think a lot of just like that kind of meta just completely missed me. And then the 2020 boom, what I kind of recall is the pandemic happened here in, March of 2020. I had kind of gotten more into Pokemon in this time frame too, I think for a lot of the reasons other people did. I would say from what I remember, Champion's Path was like the first set that you couldn't find right away, or that you couldn't find for MSRP, basically. That's what I recall. You can see in my history here, so these are all purchases I made either as pre-orders or within the first 2 months of a set's release. So I was able to buy Champion's Path within the first couple months of release for $60. I remember them mostly being like $80 everywhere, and it never really like crashed down below that. Vivid Voltage, that was another one where when it came out, it wasn't in stores, people were wiping off shelves at that time. But I still recall being able to get booster boxes online for a reasonable price, like $125 or something like that. I don't have any in this data. And then the biggest one was Shining Fates, which was another specialty set. That was the biggest, kind of like sold out everywhere. Didn't really have quote unquote reasonable prices online. I think I had some... this 74 there. I think what I could like regularly buy it for during the subsequent months was like $74 for an ETB, which felt crazy. Before that, like 30 or 40 was what you could get ETBs for. Shining Fates was when Pokemon kind of came out and said like, we're gonna print more, like kind of gave that public statement about needing to get more stuff in stores and whatever. They definitely did that. It just took kind of a long time, because even as late as like 2024, you could get Shining Fates ETBs for like $35 because they were just everywhere. Nobody needed them anymore. But during this boom, they were, I would say, 70 or 80. Then there was a couple other sets that I don't have on this graph because they weren't like big phenomenon. Evolving Skies was huge. From what I remember, you could still get booster boxes for like around MSRP, which was $145 back then. But those never really fell below that. Historically, booster boxes were around 100. Then Celebrations was, to me, that seemed like the peak of the pandemic boom, was Celebrations. That was pretty hard to find. I mostly tried to find it in stores, but you can see on here, when I was able to buy it online, it was an $80 ETB. Of all this, Vivid Voltage, Shining Fates, those all crashed down to be normal or cheap. Vivid Voltage was on the Pokemon Center website for MSRP until like 2024. Evolving Skies never crashed. It didn't really spike either. From what I remember, you could still get it for like $150 kind of for a couple years. And Celebrations kind of always hovered around this 80 from what I remember. This spike in 2023 on the Google Trends, I'm a little bit out of the know on what was going on there. I know Crown Zenith was a pretty popular set, but I don't remember there being like a huge market boom at that time. 151 was a pretty big set, but that didn't really drive much going on here. Once you get to like the modern boom, that's Surging Sparks, end of 2024. That's where you see the Google Trends really skyrocket. And then ever since then, Pokemon's just been insane. In comparison to what's happening right now, or has been happening for like 18 months, the 2020 boom was not that big. Like, I almost feel like it wasn't a big deal. Back then, it felt like a huge deal. The current boom has just been dragging on so long on everything. All these prices are going up so much. So like, why I put this data here is every new set in between and after these, you could still get at release for about $100 a booster box, about $40, sometimes even less for the Elite Trainer boxes. I remember getting Chilling Reign for $80 a booster box kind of in this 2021, 2022 timeframe. So like, even though there was this big boom that happened, somehow Pokemon was able to like keep up with printing it. It was actually kind of sporadic sets that were really hyped up, you know. Evolving Skies and Celebrations were kind of one after another, but all the sets around them, Chilling Reign, Fusion Strike, Brilliant Stars, they were all just kind of like reasonable sets to get. Everything I kind of experienced there and learned from like really framed how I've been approaching the boom since end of 2024. And it's just, it doesn't seem like it's applicable at all. Pulled these price graphs from TCG Player. Prismatic Evolutions came out. I was hoping and praying that it would come back down to reasonable prices, but I just had so much FOMO at that one. I actually did just spend a lot of money and bought market price stuff. Actually, I think I got mine for like $90. But anyway, like the market price never really fell below 100 on the ETBs. You know, you can see it kind of settled out at 100. It's been over a year. It kind of spiked up, spiked down, and now it's back up to 200, 170. Like, this was the one where I feel like there was the most talk about, like, be patient, wait. They're gonna reprint this one. Everyone wants this set. They put out another statement about printing stuff. But now it's been a year and it's never gone below $100. And I don't know if it's like the FOMO creeping in again, but I bought a couple Elite Trainer boxes the other day just because I feel like I have to start changing my mindset and actually decide, like, do I just want to miss out on some of these, or do I just pay a higher price? Which I'm not saying that's good advice. I'm not saying it's good for the hobby if people decide that they're okay paying a higher price. It's just, I don't know, it might be reality. Black Bolt White Flare is a similar graph to this, but you can see they never really fell below 80, and now that's starting to creep up. Ascended Heroes is starting off really hot. Like, these specialty sets are tough, which is, you know, as you can see, that's kind of what the old boom was like too. But man, yeah, Ascended Heroes, I don't really know how to approach, because I certainly want to sit tight and see if I find anything for MSRP or if the price comes down. But if it's anything like Prismatic, you kind of either got to decide if you want to get it or just sit it out, because things are too crazy. I don't really know how long that's going to last. These are booster boxes here. So Surging Sparks, that one I think has been reprinted quite a bit, so it's been kind of steady in this 250. Journey Together never fell below 200 for a booster box, and now it's up to 300. Destined Rivals, absolutely crazy, never fell below like 250. It's up to 600. Just basically none of these had any floor below 200. I guess I'm just curious how other people are thinking about this, because for the longest time, any kind of collector who went through the 2020 boom was like, just sit tight, they'll keep printing, it'll come down eventually. But what was happening back then is you'd be saying that when Evolving Skies came out, and there's these other sets around it that are currently cheap, you know? So the theory was they could go reprint Evolving Skies or Celebrations, and everything else was fine because it was reasonably cheap. Now it's literally every set that comes out is insane. So I don't know how they can possibly print it enough where it actually comes back down, depending on what's driving this. If it's rip-in shippers that are driving this up, then there's not like a horde of booster boxes that are going to come to market someday. If this is all just investors, then this is only going to come down if someday they go, I guess I give up, I'm selling all my booster boxes. So I don't know, it's a little dire. I don't know what other people's strategies are. Journey Together, I've never gotten a booster box of. Destined Rivals, I got when they were like 200. These last two I've been lucky enough to get on Pokemon Center drops for MSRP at least, but I don't know. I'm starting to question my like sit tight attitude on these. The one thing recently that popped up that maybe triggered this a little bit in me, I don't know if it's panic or what, or just like maybe it's just acceptance that I got to give up on some of these things, but there's the Mega Gengar EX battle deck. Usually those are the things that sit on shelves forever, but it's the one that has that alternate art Haunter promo. And so when that came out, they were going for like $40 instead of $15 because of that promo. And the promo itself was $30. And that was one where I've just been waiting and waiting and waiting for the price to come down on. And now I think recently it's completely spiked up to like $60 now for the single and $70 for the kit. And so I don't know if I missed out. I don't know if it's possible that comes back down to earth, but I'm rethinking what I learned during the pandemic boom. Didn't Pokemon Company buy more factories or something? Yeah, I think there's an expectation they'll be able to print quite a bit more. I guess what I just don't know is like, do they use that for future sets, or do they actually go back and reprint all this old stuff? Prismatic Evolution's over a year old now. Destined Rivals is almost a year old. Ascended Heroes has insane demand, so I'm assuming that's on their list to reprint. Back in 2020, when they were looking at reprints, it was like every third set was, crazy demand, so those are the ones to reprint, and now it's every release is insane. So I don't know what they're going to do even with the new factories, if that's for future sets or what. People scalped a battle deck. You already know every single card in it. Yeah, so it was such an odd move by the Pokemon Company. They put an exclusive promo in it. So most battle decks sit there because they usually, if they have anything exclusive in it, it's like a card that has a different holo than the normal set. But they put an exclusive illustration card of Haunter in it. I don't know why they think they got to get creative and create high demand products right now. Like, if anything, they just need to go crazy with booster bundles and get people's packs to open. But Pokemon Company did recently buy a giant factory. Construction isn't going to be finished until the end of this year, though. Yeah, so that'll be the thing to see. Is the only way these are coming down is either if investors start liquidating their stuff at some point, or if the Pokemon Company actually does go back and reprint every set from the last couple of years. The crazier the economy gets, the crazier people get. Yeah, that's interesting, because there's a lot of concern about the economy right now, and you'd normally think, or I would normally think, that would impact hobbies like this negatively, that people would go, well, I'm not spending my money on something like that, I need to save my money for necessities, prices are going up, whatever. But it seems like since hobbies have become a money maker now, money maker in people's minds, or like if you don't have job security, you might as well be trying to make money in Pokemon as a side hustle or whatever. So I don't know, that a bad economy could actually mean that there's more people trying to make money in the hobby. Seeing a pattern in your chart where the spikes roughly correlate to events that rock the traditional economy. True. The pandemic one, that one's easy to kind of explain on a macroeconomic level, because there's like an understanding that at that point people just had more money to spend. So like everyone who kept their job, started working from home, couldn't go out to eat or go to movies anymore, and got $3,000 from the government. Like, that makes sense that people now have a bunch of money to spend on Pokemon cards. I think the booms there are also related to how hard times make us nostalgic for simpler times. Yeah, I hadn't considered that. That's kind of an interesting point. Nostalgia's a coping mechanism for a lot of those feelings, so that could definitely be driving it. And that's why I'm back in it right now. I need something to focus on that isn't everything else. Yeah, anecdotally for me, I would say that's the same. I've gone through some things in the last couple of years. I've really kind of focused a lot of my attention on the Pokemon hobby as kind of an escape, and it's working, I guess. So maybe it's working for other people too. Anyway, that was a little spiel. Part of me is just curious how other people remember this time period, and if they're remembering it the same way as me, because I just thought it was interesting in hindsight how I remember during this time thinking things were absolutely insane, and now after what we've gone through, it seems like this was barely anything. So I'll be curious to hear what other people think.